How is everyone doing? Welcome back to another live stream. Today I'm going to be providing you with a market update as Bitcoin is seeing a little bit of a dip right now, and it is expected. I did say on the last live stream that I think we're going to have a bit of a short-term cool-off, a bit of a retest of the previous highs. We know that we built up a lot of rejection points here around kind of 94 to 94.7K. It's no coincidence that we're now trying to flip previous resistance into support. That is, in fact, quite a bullish sign. And I like what I'm seeing here with Bitcoin. Yes, we're having a bit of a move down, but in all honesty, as long as we hold kind of 93.9 to 94K, structurally, this looks really, really nice. And I still think that move up to the 50-week moving average, as I keep going on about, is still very much on the cards. As of right now, the 50-week moving average is sat around 101K. I still believe Bitcoin will hit that before we then see lower prices. I've just done a full, in-depth, detailed presentation to my mentor tier members regarding my full strategy for the year of 2026. This is almost like a course. The level of knowledge in this 1 hour long video, it's almost like a course which I could sell separately. That's how much value is in this. And if you want to gain access to my full plans for 2026, where I see Bitcoin going, where I see altcoins going, and my strategy for the year of 2026, then definitely join the mentor tier or the big bundle. Use the code TARIF at checkout and you'll save yourself 40% off, and you'll get my full year outline for 2026. It's going to be a big year. And I think I have an idea of what's going to happen. Obviously, Bitcoin can surprise us, but I have my personal opinions on what's going to happen with the market. And so far, it's all going to plan. We're having that move up to the 50-week moving average, there or thereabouts, followed by, in my opinion, a rejection. And I do believe we'll hit the 200-week moving average this year, which, if we look at this chart here, you can see is approximately 58K, but it's going up, so it's probably going to be higher than that. It's probably going to be in the 60s, most likely. So I do see Bitcoin going there at some point, but first we're going to have this complacency shoulder. We're going to have this bounce. I did repost someone's post on X, which I thought was quite good in how it explained where we are in the market. Very simple, but good. And I agree. We're at the complacency phase. That's where we are right now. Let me know where you think we are. Obviously, I've talked about this before. There's an argument we didn't have euphoria. There's an argument to be had that we missed euphoria. We skipped euphoria and we went straight to the thrill part first and then just didn't have euphoria. But, you know, people say we topped on apathy. I think there's a degree of truth in that, but I wouldn't go as far to say it was full apathy. I mean, there were certainly elements of thrill when we rallied up to 126 or 124 from 74K. That first run was not apathy, right? That first run was certainly thrill. And there was maybe even some elements of euphoria in that first leg up. From the 50-week moving average, we dipped down to 74K. And then we got a big bounce all the way up to 123. That move, in my opinion, was the move of thrill. The official top, 126, that was probably apathetic. But this move here was certainly, people were in thrill. Maybe they were even in some degree of euphoria. Banana Republic says that we are in disbelief. Interesting. I mean, I don't think we had a big enough dump for it to be disbelief. But, you know, it's possible. It's possible. I think for disbelief, you need Bitcoin to go to its 200-week moving average. I mean, this was barely even a correction. In Bitcoin terms, this was barely even a correction, guys. Bitcoin went down 36%. Those of you who've been in Bitcoin for the last 5, 10, 15 years, you know 36% is not a big correction. It is not a big correction. I don't think you can call a 36% correction worthy of saying that we hit depression or anger. I don't think we got to that point. I honestly believe we had that dump there was the move down to 80K. Because guys, we were at 80K literally like when the tariff situation was going on, right? We were at 80K. That's not a huge low. So I believe this level here was 80K. We're probably about here. We're getting very close to that complacency high. And then I believe we're going to see that continued downward move. Now, look, it doesn't have to be as bad as previous bear markets this time around. I don't believe it will be as bad. There's always a chance it's a disastrous bear market and shit hits the fan because the stocks are so overly inflated in their values. Maybe they come down and that brings Bitcoin down significantly. But honestly, I don't think we need to have a crazy bad bear market. Like, it could genuinely just be a move down to the 200 week and that's it. But to say that we reached anger or depression at 80K, I think is a bit of an exaggeration, honestly. That was not a large correction. But anyway, we'll take a look at Bitcoin here. We are having a little bit of a short-term correction. If we look at the 15-minute chart, you can see that we were in this triangle. We then lost it, came back up, tried to break back above it, but failed. And now you can see where we've come down to. We're down at 94.7K. The lows of this recent short-term correction were at 94.2. We could keep going down a little bit more, to be honest with you. There's a lot of support around 94K. 93.9 to 94K, there's a lot of support. But yeah, Bitcoin's given back a lot of the gains here from this big rally. Hopefully we can flip it into support and get a bounce. But if we do start losing these 94K levels, we start hitting 93, start hitting 92, I do start to get concerned that maybe that is the end of the relief rally. Maybe that is the end of the complacency shoulder, which would be a pretty bad complacency shoulder. But I do start to get concerned if we go into the 92, 91, 93 region. You know, if we start losing 94K, I will get a little bit concerned in the short term. But as long as we're above 94, or like I said, 93.9, that kind of region, we're still looking fine, structurally speaking, because you've got your highs of this range that we are currently retesting after a break above, which is not usually a bad thing when you do that. Cup and handle still very much valid. Let's see if we get a bounce from these levels and we can really start pushing up for 100K. That would be really nice. And hopefully some of the alts get a bit of a bounce, because what's been interesting about this recent relief rally, the alts have not done much at all, guys. They really haven't. Let's pull up Bitcoin dominance, see what it's been doing. Haven't checked on Bitcoin dominance today. I haven't checked on it in the last couple of days, actually, but let's take a look. I assume it's been going up steadily. And I'd be right to assume that it's been going up over the past few days. So, you know, you would think Bitcoin having a bit of a short-term relief rally, that would boost the alts, but it really hasn't boosted the alts too much. Most of the alts have not moved much at all. And you can see last few days, Bitcoin dominance has been going up. Now, maybe Bitcoin moves first, and then we start to see ETH move, and then we get a short-term pop with some of the alts. But, you know, you'd be hoping to see dominance dropping a little bit as Bitcoin's been bouncing. We take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum structurally has always looked fine during this correction. It came down to a golden pocket and respected that. You got to give Ethereum props. It's held up better than people would have imagined. If you look at Ethereum, the last time Bitcoin was at 80K, it was much lower in price. Bitcoin went down to 74 and Ethereum was at 1.3K. Bitcoin went down to 80K just recently, and Ethereum came down to 2.6K. So Ethereum has held up steadily compared to Bitcoin. And yeah, maybe it's getting this bit of a bounce here, but it's still below the prices it was at during early December. And this kind of proves my point about the fact that Bitcoin's done quite well to get above 94, but the alts haven't really had that pop that people would have hoped for, right? And if you look at a lot of the altcoins, they're actually lower than the prices I was exiting the market. For those who don't know, I sold my final remains of altcoins when we broke below the 50-week moving average. I was taking profits on the way up anyway, but I still had a large amount of my portfolio left. I sold the rest of my portfolio when we lost the 50-week moving average. And if you look at most alts, even though Bitcoin, I mean, when did we lose the 50-week? What price was Bitcoin? I think it was around 94, right? Something like that. Most of the alts are still lower. They're still lower than when I sold them. They haven't had that pop, you know? So, like I said, Ethereum was at 3.47 on the 8th of December, or that week. Now it's all the way down at 3.2. So it hasn't gotten above that early December level, whereas Bitcoin has. So interesting to see that. Smash up the likes on the stream, absolutely. It's not going to be the longest live stream, but please do hit up the likes. Helps out a ton. 50 to 60K Bitcoin isn't bad. It's not. Based off the usual bear markets that Bitcoin has, it's really not bad at all. Let me see if I can just pull up a slide from the mentor meeting I did earlier. By the way, like I said, that mentor meeting, it was basically like a course, the amount of content that was in it. I could have sold it individually, but I decided to add it into the mentor tier as one of the perks. Let me see. Yeah, super valuable content in that mentor meeting. And I, talked about it for an hour. Cryptex joined as well, my technical analyst. So let me see if I can just share this super quick. So this is just one of the snippets, right? This is just one of the slides where you can see that in 2018, so these are all midterm years, 2018, 2022, 2026. These are all post-halving years as well. So the year after the post-halving. Last year was the post-halving year. This would be the post-halving year. I know it gets confusing, but that's kind of the way I described it. But you can see in 2018, Bitcoin went down 73% from the beginning of the year to the end, and it was down around 84% from the cycle top. 2022, Bitcoin was down 64% from the beginning to the end of the year, and it was down about 77% from the cycle top. Now, I don't believe it's going to be that bad. Obviously, you can see it's diminishing a bit. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I still expect us to see some pain this year from the cycle top. And I expect that more in the first half of the year, to be honest with you. Obviously, if we get this complacency shoulder done in the next week or two, then there's a solid chance we could be down 74K or lower by the middle of the year. And hopefully it's a shorter bear market. I hope it is. But obviously, I always want to make it very clear that I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to change my opinion. If the market changes, I will change. It's a fluid situation. It's not a set in stone thing. This is a market, guys. It changes every single day. So I'm open to change, but I have my base case. I have my less likely case, and I have my very unlikely case. And I outlined all of those in the 2026 outline presentation that I gave to the mentor tier. Ben Shaw says, with the $5 Canadian, appreciate that. He says, Say is down 89% from the all-time high, and a lot of alts are down 80%. Wouldn't now be a good time to buy since they are near the bottom and can only go up? They're near the short-term bottom, right? They're near the short-term bottoms. Who's to say that they can't go down more? Guys, people thought Solana bottomed out last bear market at $50. I remember because I was there. A lot of these crypto YouTubers actually weren't even around in 2021 and 2022. A lot of them weren't. They just joined crypto last couple of years. I remember exactly what Solana did. Because people were calling the bottom on Solana prematurely. They were calling the bottom on Solana way too prematurely, guys. So I remember people calling the bottom here as well, and then it absolutely tanked. Okay? Absolutely tanked. So who's to say that where Solana is right now is not this same kind of phase that it had here before then going lower? Who's to say that that is not the same as that? Solana went down to $7. $7 $7 or $8 during the 2022 bear market with an all-time high of 258. And people were calling the bottom saying it can't dip anymore. Here, here, and here. They were saying it at $76. They were saying it at $30. They were saying it at $11, and it still went down to $7. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that bad. I'm really not saying it's going to be that bad because I don't believe it will. But this idea that it's... Wait, you guys can't even see my screen. Oh, man. How long has this been? There we go. I've been pointing to things. I've been circling them. You can't even see the screen. I'm not saying it's going to be as bad as 2022. I want to be clear with that. But people were calling the bottom on Solana at all these prices here, and I remember it. It can't go any lower. It's already dumped 60%. It's already dumped 80%. It's already dumped 90%. How much did Solana dump? And this was a blue chip, by the way. It dumped 97%. A blue chip. So you've got to just bear that in mind. I don't think Solana will dump 97% again. Ever again, probably. Maybe when it becomes obsolete tech, but not anytime soon. So just because something might feel like a bottom or something has gone down a lot doesn't mean it is a bottom just because it's gone down a lot. Alts can go down 90% and then go down another 90%, which is minus 99.9%. People need to realize that. Ricky says, can you look at Dash? Got in at $80. I can. But, you know, there's some signs that this might have been a bottom here. Definitely some signs. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's take a quick look at Dash. So on the weekly, big volatility on this one, big swings. So you've had a bit of a downtrend here. You can see that. Clear downtrend. Nice pattern there, guys. See this? When you see something like that, it's just a work of art for a chartist. That's a work of art. Loads of hits on the support side and the resistance side. And what do you know when you break above it? You get a nice bounce. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. So it looks good in that sense, but I wouldn't be buying it now. Wouldn't be buying it now. Can it go to $80? For sure it can. That's not even far. It was literally at $80 today. Big banking crisis coming. AI bubble, bear market into Q2 2027, and then we start bull run. I don't know if it'll be that long. the thing is, everyone's calling it an AI bubble, and I've even had my doubts about this because if you look at the earnings, they're actually good. Meta's PE ratio is literally what, like 26, 27, something like that is the PE ratio of Meta. And that's supposed to be a bubble. It's trading on a cheaper multiple than something like Costco or Walmart. So I'm not buying the whole AI bubble narrative. There's definitely elements of a bubble when you look at Palantir, you look at certain other stocks, but I don't think it's a full-on bubble. I actually love the Discord chat. I do appreciate that. Do appreciate that. What do I think about the Pengu chart? Let's take a look at Pengu. Whatever happened to this meme? I haven't been keeping up with it. Did it just die out as expected, maybe? So you know, with trend lines, you can draw multiple trend lines. It's sometimes one of those things where you can see multiple things in the same chart sometimes. But not necessarily seeing like anything super convincing with this one, actually. If anything, I'd make the argument that it looks like it just had a rejection there. You'd be looking for a potential breakout from this resistance. If you got that, then obviously it'd be bullish. So basically, whenever Pengu breaks above 137, it's probably going to be a good time to get in. Because not only will you make a higher high, but by then you would have also broken above the resistance. Benja says, "What's up, Archie? Love the channel. Appreciate that. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the channel if you're new, and welcome if you're returning. Appreciate everyone being here. But I gave my little take on Bitcoin the short term earlier on in the live stream. Make sure to go back if you want to hear that. Is Avantis dead? Not dead, but it's certainly not alive right now. It's kind of in the middle, right? It's maybe in a coma. How's it going, Bren? Good to see you in the stream. And yeah, thanks everyone for the likes. So, Avantis. 10x in 10 days. Who remembers that? This was one of the biggest winners in crypto for me I don't say in history, but definitely this cycle. 100,000% this cycle. I think the reason it was such a big winner was the speed of the pump. It did 10x in 10 days. Not 10 weeks, not 10 months, 10 days. Unheard of, those types of gains on a coin which is on Coinbase. Not a pump fund meme, a crypto on Coinbase did those kind of returns. So I'll never forget Avantis for those gains. But in terms of the chart, it doesn't actually look dead to me at all. It looks fine. I mean, obviously, this is not nice, the type of dump it's had, but this is very normal for a cryptocurrency. Very, 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 very normal. For a crypto that's outside the top 20, you can easily correct this much. And it's actually come down and retested some of the lows here. It's basically came down to its 10-10 wick. 10-10 feels like an eternity ago. It feels like 20 years ago, but it wasn't that long ago when you think about it. But it's basically come down to its 10-10 wick. It's had a breakout from this channel it's been in. Kind of looked similar to XPL in many ways. Very, very similar to XPL. which was a good trade that I gave. Caught that basically at the bottom. It has just lost the golden pocket though, so that's a bit of short-term caution that you should have. Maybe it's going to come down to the 786. But yeah. These alts haven't pumped that much. You gotta realize they have not pumped much at all. When you think about it, Bitcoin's back at 94, 95K. The alts are still under the water, significantly under the water. That Avantis call was one of the craziest things I've caught from you. Yeah, it was insane. I made people a lot of money. The amount of people that emailed me, messaged me on Discord telling me that one call changed their life, that it retired them, that it paid off their mortgage. They've been in debt for 20 years and this finally fixed the debt. Those are the types of stories I heard. I think it was like 6 or 7 people, 8 people maybe, that were retired, that call retired. So definitely changed people's lives, that's for sure. Nobody would mind a bear market after a bull run, but this year retail made no money. If crypto goes down now, it is fucked. And it would take years for retail to be interested again. I do agree that if we went into a brutal bear market now, it would fundamentally hurt the reputation of crypto. No doubt about that. I think 1010 already did hurt the reputation of crypto. Seeing crypto just crash 99% in one hour? Are you insane? That hurt crypto more than anything could ever hurt crypto, I think, that one day. My YouTube subscribers have dropped down. The views have dropped down. All my leverage positions that day got stopped out in big losses. And I've never been a big guy in leverage. I only had about 1% or less of my portfolio in leverage. Maybe 0.6% of my portfolio is in leverage positions, so less than 1%. All my leverage positions stopped out, stopped out, stopped out. Never lost more money in my life than that day in terms of unrealized losses from the beginning of the day to the end. I bet, as sad as it is, I bet people actually fully quit crypto that day. And some people, unfortunately, probably did even worse things than that. So I've never seen anything like that day in years of crypto. And everyone's kind of just pretended to move on like nothing's happened. But I do think that damaged the industry more than anything else could. I think that day damaged the industry probably more than FTX, more than Luna maybe. That was the biggest liquidation event in history. And everyone expects us to just give a complete V-shaped recovery straight away. I don't know about that. Casper's still stagnant. It's not doing anything. It's like Bitcoin broke out to almost 98K and Casper's still just not moving, man. Still in that downtrend. Still in that downtrend. Now, look, whenever Casper does genuinely break out, it's going to be really nice. But every single time it's pumped, it's just been nothing more than a fake out. And right now it's kind of on a golden pocket. Sat on a golden pocket right now, so hopefully it gets a bounce. But it's insane how much of a downtrend this thing's been in. It's been in a multi-year downtrend now. Yeah, the price hasn't been that bad. I mean, it's at 4 cents with an all-time high of 20, which is pretty bad. But when you think about it, cryptos have dumped what Casper's done in 2 years in like a month. It's taken Casper well over a year to dip 80%, whereas like Other cryptos have dipped 80% in a month. So I'll give it that, but still not something to brag about, right? It's still dumped a ton. So in terms of my alts, Sui's definitely up there. I like XPL a lot. I like Casper. I like Ondo. There's quite a few alts that I like. But yeah, pretty much the same ones that I was bullish on last year. A lot hasn't changed. Tau, still love Tau. The only thing that's changed is the prices and the sentiment in crypto. And I do still think most of those picks are going to go significantly lower. But only time's going to tell, guys. Ondo, look at that. Look at that downtrend on Ondo. Look at that downtrend on Ondo. Wow. So you've got downtrends across the board on these alts. You really have. Some of them have broken out. Some of them have broken out and then gone back below the resistance. Ondo is looking like maybe it's retesting the previous resistance into support. If it can bounce here, then that's pretty good. What about XPL? How's XPL doing? I think it lost the golden pocket last time I was looking at it. Yeah, so we had that clean breakout on XPL. And now it's giving back some of those gains again. Came down to almost basically the 786. And it seems to have gotten a bounce from the 786 fib. So hopefully this is the low for XPL and it can start pushing back up again here. Do you think we would have one more rally before bear market? I do. I think we have one more rally before bear market. I think that rally will be up to 100K to 106. Somewhere between those levels, I think we'll reject. Yeah, the Trump coin definitely caused damage, but nothing was worse than 1010. There's no way you can say the Trump coin was more damaging than 1010. You literally had coins that have been around for 5, 6, 7 years that dumped 99% in a day. Liquidated everyone. Guahi to Man City, FML. When am I going to buy Liverpool FC? I won't be able to do that, unfortunately. Never say never, but extremely unlikely. I know I'm a multi-millionaire at 21, but it's one thing having that behind you, and it's another thing being a multi-billionaire, right? Very big difference. But yeah, Man City are making some big moves, right, in the transfer window. Looks like they're going to get Guahi. They just signed Semenyo as well. They're signing all the big players in the Prem. But I think Newcastle actually just put in a bid, 65 million or something, I think it was. So we'll see. Do I think low caps will have a small comeback? Yeah, they'll have a short comeback for sure. Like, even in a bear market, you get rallies, you get opportunities. And that's the whole point of the Trade Alerts channel and the VIP, is I'll be posting these short-term opportunities to everyone. I'm not going to reveal the trades. But I think I've given something like 7 trades, 6 trades, and 4 or 5. I think 5 of them have been wins. So we've got like an 80% win rate, something like that, on those trades in the Trade Alert channel. But yeah, definitely recommend the VIP. Insanely active group. Voice chats almost every day. Even during the red days, there's still voice chats going on. Strongly recommend joining. And yeah, definitely join up this community, guys. No group like it. Activity speaks for itself. Buy alerts, sell alerts, stock market alerts as well. Whenever I'm buying stocks, I let you guys know. Professional chart alerts. TA content as well. Cryptex just put out a TA video on his thoughts for 2026. You get your portfolio reviewed. Any projects you want reviewing, there's a section there as well. So yeah, get yourselves in the VIP. Even in the bear market, we're going to be printing. That is not an excuse to sit around and do nothing. You should still be printing in the bear market. You just adapt your strategy, and that's exactly what we're doing. So join the VIP. Use the code TARIF at checkout, TARRIF. No, I spelled that wrong. TARRIFF. I spelled that wrong. TARIFF. Did I say double R? When you say it out, sometimes it's different. You spell it wrong when you're on the spot like that. But anyway, I'm not gonna dig myself into a hole. There's a link in the description. Yeah, there's still definitely a lot of moon boys out there still calling for 200K in the next few months. It's crazy. It's definitely crazy. The amount of people that are still calling for these ridiculous targets in the short term. So yeah, get yourselves in the Discord. Remember, the mentor tier has that 2026 Outlook video, and the bundle gives you a lifetime on the mentor tier, so you never have to pay again years down the line. Use the code TARIF, TARIFF. We got it right this time. And yeah, there's also a link to Blowfin in the description. That's the exchange that I personally trade on. Thank you all for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.